Whiskey or whiskey is a type of distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash. Various grains are used for different varieties, including barley, corn, rye, and wheat. Whiskey is typically aged in wooden casks, generally made of charred white oak. Whiskey is a strictly regulated spirit worldwide with many classes and types. The typical unifying characteristics of the different classes and types are the fermentation of grains, distillation, and aging in wooden barrels. The word whiskey or whiskey is an English of the classical Gaelic word uses meaning water. Word shares its ultimate origins with Germanic water and Slavic. Distilled alcohol was known in Latin and as acute white. This was translated into Old Irish as usus beta, which became jus beta in Irish and usus beta. Early forms of the word in English included usus beta, names and spellings. Much is made of the words two spellings whiskey and whiskey. There are two schools of thought on the issue. One is that the spelling difference is simply a matter of regional and language convention for the spelling of a word, indication that spelling varies depending on the intended audience or the background or personal preferences of the writer. Another is that spelling should depend on the style or origin in the spirit being described. There is general agreement that when quoting the proper name printed on a label, and the spelling on the label should not be altered. The spelling whiskey is common in Ireland and the United States, while whiskey is used in all other whiskey producing countries. In the United States, the usage has not always been constant. From the late 18th century to mid-20th century, American writers used both spellings interchangeably until the introduction of newspaper-style guides. Since the 1960s, American writers have increasingly used whiskey as the accepted spelling for aged grain spirits made in the U.S. and whiskey for aged grain spirits made outside the U.S. However, some prominent American brands such as George Dickel, Maker's Mark, and Old Forester use the whiskey spelling on their labels, and standards of identity for distilled spirits. The legal regulations for spirits in the US also use the whiskey spelling throughout. Whiskey made in Scotland is known as Scots whiskey or supplied as Scots, especially in North America. History. It's possible that distillation was practiced by the Babylonians in Mesopotamia in the 2nd millennium BC, with perfumes and aromatics being distilled, but this is subject to uncertain and disputed interpretations of evidence. The early certain chemical distillation were by Greeks in Alexandria in the 1st century after that, but these were not distillation of alcohol. The medieval Arabs adopted the distillation technique of the Alexandrian Greeks, and written records in Arabic being the 19th century, but again, these were not disciplines of alcohol. Distilling technology passed from the medieval Arabs to the medieval Latins, with the earliest records in Latin in the early 12th century. The earliest records of the distillation of alcohol are in Italy in the 13th century, where alcohol was distilled from wine. An early description of the technique was given by Ramon Lull. Its use for separate the medieval monasteries, largely for medicinal purposes such as the treatment of colic and smallpox. Yes. In this video, I will talk about whiskey. Please subscribe to my channel, let you know my new videos. Thank you very much.